Hey,
Hey,
hi
there we
May.
go. How
Here I am.
exciting.
Yay.
Here we all are. Let me make it so my face is in here.
Oh
Hey,
yeah. Hey there. I see
how's
people
your
joining
morning
that I
been?
know. Oh yeah. Good,
Good.
good. Busy.
Hi, friends. Hi, friends of
Hi.
Jonathan.
I see Jesse and Jackie join. Hey, and Eddie too.
Welcome,
Cool. How
welcome.
exciting. So glad you're here.
It's so great. Please do, friends, put your comments in the chat. It's really fun to just feel like we're all in a room together, even though it's the magic of internet. But thanks. Having a good morning? Do you have a good morning?
Yeah. Yeah, I am. I have a good morning. I had a session with actually someone who's here today, one of my clients, and then had another session, and yeah, that's been got my kid off to school, and so yeah, it's been good.
Juggle, juggle, juggle,
Juggle,
right?
juggle,
All the
juggle. Yeah,
hats.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, that's very on brand for my space. I really just welcome everyone because that's what entrepreneurship is about, right? That it
Hmm.
allows you to be all the people or be the whole person that
Right.
you are, right?
Hmm.
It's a vehicle for that. So, can you just tell
Yeah.
everyone what you do? Because I was working on the post about like meet Jonathan and how do I explain it again? So
Sure.
tell everyone more.
I'm a personal trainer, and I like to say like a neuroscience-based fitness coach. Um, But what that means is that I help people get stronger and move better. So, and I use a nervous system perspective to do that, a brain-based perspective. And I won't go into too much detail about what that means, but it's basically using your nervous system on purpose to help you get more range of motion or decrease pain or be stronger. Because our brains, if if our brains feel threatened for whatever reason, whether it's conscious or unconscious, it's going to restrict your movement and or through something, either make you feel tighter or give you some pain, things like that. Maybe there's an old injury, maybe there's no injury, but just the little signals that come through if you're if you're in high stress all the time, or if your brain just doesn't know what's going on with your body, it's going to default to don't do anything. And so we can use the nervous system, we can assess the nervous system and see, oh, maybe there's parts of the brain or parts of your nervous system that aren't functioning the greatest, and we can help it. And then all of a sudden you have more range of motion and you can be stronger and do those things that you love to do. And that's what's most important for me, is helping people to do whatever it is. It's like, so now you have this range of motion or this strength so that you can, whatever it may be, maybe it's play a sport that you love to play, or hike, or go on vacation and do lots of walking, or play with your kids or your grandkids or whatever it happens to be.
Nice.
Garden,
I
cook, whatever.
So I'm listening, and one want to say you have helped me in the times that we've
Oh,
talked
good.
about balance, eyesight, and yeah, range of motion with very simple, succinct exercises where it's like, try it, now try it again.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's pretty amazing. And they're often,
Ah.
I hope you don't get sick of it, but like, I really feel like I often have people on here that like what they do is like magic. And that's right. Like people talk about the magic of
Mm-hmm.
brain and body connection
Yeah.
because we're not that, I'll say me, others are, but not that, it's not obvious, I guess, in the way
No.
people talk about body, that of
Yeah.
course everything is connected, which has
Right.
been
Yeah.
my lesson.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that everyone's, even scientists are still learning about how the nervous system works and how the body works. So there's
yeah.
certainly a lot that's not known still and not obvious. But then once you learn it, it's like, yeah, it's how the body works. It's the science, and so it can seem like magic, but it's how the nervous system
Yeah.
works, which is pretty cool.
And I just want to be careful to say, I don't mean magic like it's not science,
Oh
right?
no, no,
Because
yeah.
like when you say it, it's logical.
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
just is like, oh, it's like something like it's more powerful than we could
Uh,
have known.
hmm.
Which the other thing I was going to say is like, this is Mindset Monday. And so, like,
Hmm.
you and I are both coaches,
Hmm.
and there's always some outside sort of symptom or the thing that someone says, this is really what's bothering me. I want to fix this.
Hmm.
And I would say that a parallel for both of us is it turns out we all know a lot about what we should be doing on the outside. This is business wise.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I often have to get into is what is really stopping you? And what's the way I have always said it is what's the thing under the thing? And then there's the thing under the thing. And that's mindset, right? It's often, well, of course I know I should be, but why am I not doing that? Well, I mean, I'm doing it, but I could be doing it more. Okay, well then why not that? And it's sort of a tough balance of just kind of drilling down and digging into the simple in some ways too. So connecting how when you said, you know, your brain says this is not safe, right? And of course, there's a lot of things that we mean to do, want to do, think we're doing, and really there's some part of us that's like, hold on, you can only go this far, right? Like, and in our money thoughts, in our what success thoughts, in our like how to execute the things that we want to be about thoughts, really just knowing is not enough sometimes.
Right. Yeah, that's I love what you said about that. Like what is the thing behind the thing? There's a thing in the so this kind of training that I do, it's called Z Health, or there's a practice that's called Z Health was started a little over maybe 15, maybe closer to 20 years ago now, by a chiropractor named Dr. Eric Cobb, and he takes from all these different existing knowledge about science and other practices and puts them together. But one of the things he talks about and we learn is when we're taking a history, when we're talking to someone about, oh yeah, my shoulder hurts or my shoulder doesn't, move. We are taught to ask like, well, what happened before what happened? Like, oh, you can't move your shoulder. Well, what happened before that? And then what happened before that? And it's the exact same thing. Just what you're saying. Yeah. It's the exact same thing. Like
where did that story come from?
Yeah.
I don't have a story. Well, maybe you do. Let's think about it. Right. And I'll ask questions. And sometimes people are like, why are you asking me this? This is not, I thought we were going to do a revenue plan. I thought we were going to design a new product. And I said, yes, we totally are. First, I just want to kind of clear the decks. Like just get at the thing under the thing first. Yeah. And then when that's super clear, then designing your business really is it's really easy.
Right. It just falls into place. Right.
It can fall into place. And that's my faith in people and what's possible. And it also is just what I've seen.
Yeah.
Because when you answer questions, not from the place of dealing with the thing under the thing, right? What happened before the happened. Right. It's like, there's not a thing. I mean, I can imagine there's a trail to follow, right? There's you're getting data.
Yeah, totally.
That gets at the whole truth and not just I'm just observing this outside thing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I think one of the things that I really enjoy, or maybe it's like a beauty of coaching, is that sometimes people are like, yeah, I don't know, nothing happened before the thing that happened. And then you start to do stuff and you're like, well, okay, well, let's just approach it from we'll assess this and look at your eyes and look at your vestibular system. And then they're like, oh, wait, now I remember that actually something, when I was it could have been a year ago, it could have been 10 years ago, but they just didn't think about it. And it's like, oh, this thing happened. And then it was like, okay, well then, and it's like something opens up and it's like, oh yeah, well that and then we have a path to follow. It's like, oh, well then let's kind of go that way and kind of look at, see what happens there. And maybe we're not looking at the shoulder anymore.
Exactly.
We're looking, and then there could be lots of different reasons. It could be something, the history, like, oh, let's look at your hip, or let's look at your, something else like your breathing. And it's all, like you were saying earlier, it's all related.
Totally.
But sometimes you do something and it helps people remember something, and then it goes into something else. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, that feels better.
Right. Right. They might say this hurts, but really it's something else that's making that. And you could fix that when really it's the this, right? So then you can do it.
Totally.
So this is another piece of coaching, and then we'll move on to the usual questions. But about what's interesting to me, my own growth is I think I think that people know generally what they need, and yet there's
Mm-hmm.
a part sometimes where you and I are like, I hear you, and
Mm-hmm.
here's what you really need, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm learning how to just kind
Yeah.
of own that as a
Mm-hmm.
coach,
Mm-hmm.
like I know you're saying, and we will get there, right? But I will get there, and I know how to get there in a
Yeah. Yeah.
different way than what maybe
Mm-hmm.
what you're thinking. So
Totally.
it's taken a
Yeah.
little bit of something like fear or something like that is
Uh-huh.
okay, right? Accepting this about what I know and
Mm-hmm.
what they're asking me for.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I imagine it's maybe a little more. I mean, I can imagine it could be more challenging for like a coach like yourself, like a business coach. Um, Although it can be challenging for a coach like myself too, depending on what the person is coming to me for. Um, but for sure, like sometimes it's a little easier to explain, like, oh yeah, biomechanically these two things are
Right.
connected, but on a nervous system level, like there's this other things going on, and people can sometimes, even if they don't
Yeah.
exactly understand it, that they can wrap their minds around like, oh yeah, it's not just the problems in the shoulder, the problems in the brain. And if we get that from a different angle, but then there's also the people who are like, yeah, I want to get stronger, and I just want to, or I just want to really, I just want to sweat or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And something's stopping them. And they just think, oh, like, I just need to stretch more my hip or you know, for example, it's
Right.
like, well,
Right.
yeah, let's do some stretches for the hip, but let's also do these other, like, why are we spending so much time on my eyes, or why am I spending so
Yeah.
much time doing this balance work, like, or on my opposite shoulder, like, why am I
Right.
doing that?
Right.
And so there is some education that has to happen, and
Yeah.
trust that you have to build up.
Yes, definitely. Welcome, Aquaman and Josephine, Rebecca.
Yes,
Great
yay,
to have you
welcome.
all here. More of your tribe, Jonathan?
um I don't know, actually. I don't recognize
Oh,
the name, so I'm not
all
sure. Maybe,
right.
I'm sorry
I
if I
know
don't.
sometimes it's hard to connect people with their username.
Yeah.
Everyone is welcome. Thank you. Hop in on comments.
I saw I saw that Drew joined. I definitely know Drew. Drew's a good guy. He's
Nice.
also another Z Health practitioner. Mm-hmm.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Great, great.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just get into the usual questions is tell us how you started your business.
Right. So there's like a two-part. I have a two-part answer. So the
Okay.
first part is, how did I get into personal training? And the second part is how did I start my business? They kind of go together a little bit, but the first part is because for the longest time, so I've been doing this now. It'll be 4 years in like the fall that I've been a personal trainer.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank
four
you.
years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so before that, for almost 15 years, I was working in sales. I was a sales director, account manager, that kind of thing. I was working for a small IT services company, and you know, our clients, we did managed services. We helped them manage their IT people for like nonprofits and schools in the Bay Area. And I really liked who I worked with, and I loved the organizations that I worked with. But after there, at a certain point, it's almost a little embarrassing to admit how long ago it was. But you know, like maybe 10 years ago, I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, this isn't quite, like, there's something that's missing, and I couldn't put
Yeah.
my finger on it. And I eventually came to find out or figure out that it was like I wanted to have more of a direct impact. Like the job that I was doing, I felt like I had this kind of broad, maybe shallow impact. Like I would like
Mm-hmm.
have little connections with like the chief financial officer of this company, and maybe I would help them figure something out, and then that would help his employees or her employees, and that would help their employees to help the people who are actually getting the services, where they were students
Right.
or elderly people, or you know, people who in foster care, whatever it happened to be. So it was like 3 steps removed often that
Right.
my impact would be, and that was something that I was like I realized that I needed a deeper, more kind of one-to-one connection. The second part of that is that I've been an athlete my whole life, and as I was getting older, and my sport is ultimate frisbee, and I've been playing ultimate frisbee for almost 30 years now, and But as I was getting into my late 20s and then early 30s, like I never really did anything to kind of stay in shape except play my sport, maybe do some like push-ups and some chin-ups or something like that, or some crunches and maybe a little yoga and stretching. And I pick up things here and there as I got older and older and things crept up. But eventually the thing that, and then I'd get some injuries and they were getting harder to recover from. I was having all sorts of bad back spasms, things that I couldn't play. And I was seeing other peers of mine start to be like, oh, I'm just going to retire. I'm not going to play anymore. And they'd be like 30 years old. And I'm like, I can't do that. Like, this is, I loved what I did. I love playing. I love the community. And I just couldn't imagine like doing anything else. And I just got so much out of it. It would leave a huge like hole in my soul. So I didn't want that to happen. If I could help it. And so I would go to PT, or I went to acupuncture and chiropractors, and it would help for a little bit, but it wasn't until I started doing strength training, that I was like, I felt like I had a whole new kind of lease of like a second career, being able to play Ultimate. So, that was the thing that made me want to be a personal trainer. And once I started exploring training, and I found Z Health and the whole nervous system component, not only did it make sense to me, but it also helped me too. Like I did my first like certification class, and like I just was sleeping better and feeling better, and my stress levels were down. And not to mention that I felt like I could do more and perform better while I was playing. So that made me want to be a trainer. And so then I became a trainer. And what made me want to, in doing kind of all my like exploratory research about like what it means to be a personal trainer, most of the people I talked to were, either independent contractors or had their own business, and they were kind of talking about why that worked for them, and it made sense to me. And I got a lot of advice that was kind of like, yeah, you might want to start working in like a gym so you can get like, just see what it's like and get a whole bunch of experience really fast. But eventually you're probably going to want to do things on your own. It's like, okay. And that was true for me. And some people were like, yeah, maybe a year, 2 years in like some professional big box gym settings or something like that. I mean, I lasted like six months, and I was like, I got to get out of here.
Yeah. That's exactly. I was thinking as you were talking about it, I'm like, why would you want to do it that way? It's so not the entrepreneur feeling, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
The whole thing is to get to do it the way you want to do it. That's
right.
At least my bent. So,
For sure.
It's great.
And part of it is like trying to figure out like what that means. Like, what does it mean to do it my way? And so for sure, getting that experience of seeing all these different kinds of trainers and how to work with different kinds of people and the volume and kind of what the industry is like there. So I could figure out what about that I liked or didn't like. Or,
how to be like way better.
How to be like, how to
get there.
Exactly. Yeah. How can I do something that's going to serve people in what I think is going to be more valuable? So yeah.
That gets us right into what's your greatest joy in your business? That's what it's about, right?
Yeah, I would say, so it comes down to the kind of having that direct connection. And when I hear someone say something like either like, wow, I never thought I'd be able to do that. That kind of like, oh my God, I can't believe I just did X, whatever it is, whether it's like a deep squat or spend like all day gardening and not have any pain, or, whatever it is that they're wanting to do and get joy. But they're like, I didn't think I would be able to do that either again or ever. Like, that just makes me so happy. Like, or like, I didn't think my body could do that. Like, right. It just brings this whole, I think it opens up worlds for people. At least that's how I see it, is it like opens up this whole new world of possibilities. It's opening, it's expansive instead of being kind of closed and withdrawn. And it helps, especially as we get older, that becomes more and more apparent to me how important that is for all of us as individuals to be able to maintain our independence as long as possible and maintain confidence in how well our bodies can do the things that we need them to do.
Yes. Yeah, so, you're inspiring me right now to sign up for more sessions, Jonathan, which I've told you, I've been like, I really need it. Whenever I really key into what you're doing and saying, I'm like, yeah, I can really picture it. It's partly, you know what, I just got a picture of a friend. Her Instagram is often like, I think her last one was like, I lifted this Atlas stone of 100 and something pounds, and
Wow.
I'm just watching her do it, and I'm like, so partly for me, it's like I'm happy for her and
Mm-hmm.
proud of her, but really I can feel how proud she is of herself. And
Yeah.
isn't
Yeah.
that amazing as we age, right? That
Mm-hmm.
we can say, I mean, the thing under the thing kind of is like, I can trust my body,
Mm-hmm.
right? It is safe to trust my body.
Yeah.
And where it's easy to just feel the like what's dropping off,
Mm-hmm.
what's not working as well. But to just stay even in that belief, like it is
Mm-hmm.
safe to trust my body.
Yeah.
It can be hard to hold on to. So that sounds
Mm-hmm.
really fun. So I had asked you to bring a business challenge today.
Mm-hmm.
What challenge do you want to be discussing here today?
So my challenge is as a solo practitioner, as someone who works with people one-on-one, and who, like I already mentioned, I love having that kind of one-to-one, at least connection with people, or at least a direct connection with them, where I can help them directly and feel and hear their successes and share that with them. Um, there's only so much there's only so much growing I can do. There's only so many hours in a day, and there's really, I mean, I guess there's only so much I can charge. I mean, maybe there isn't, but like, I'm sure that's like, even as I'm saying that, there's like this, that brings up money stuff, right? I know that you deal with. But I also feel like I want to be, affordable. And I don't want to just like be elitist or work with the people who are like super privileged and rich and things like that. So it's not, to me, like, it just doesn't part of, I guess maybe that's something that I value as well too. So like, I don't want to just keep upping my prices. So like, what is that? How do I scale essentially, or scale or leverage? Maybe that's a better word. How do I leverage my time and still, like, I mean, sure, I can do group classes. And so these are the ideas and things that other trainers do, right? You do like buddy group sessions, or you do, group classes or things like that. But how do I do that and still maintain maintain the joy? That I like, because sometimes I feel like I enjoy the classes that I do. Like I do a few right now, like here and there with like, 6 or 7 or 8 people. And granted, they're all online. So there's also there's some distance there anyway. But it does feel there's a little less connection. And so that's not like, I wouldn't want my whole business to be that. Like, right. Sure, I could make more money, like spending, like charging less per person, but getting like 10 or 20 people in a class and then doing all these classes. But I don't know that that's what I want to be doing, or doesn't feel like what I want to be doing.
Yeah, that's what I was hearing as you talked earlier, just that scaling. What this behind the scaling, so there's 2 things. There's impact and there's dollars. So you get to decide what feels like the impact I need, like the joy. And I will say the money is it's tied to the joy too, right? Because money is a proxy to, like, is this worth it, right? Is this effort worth what I'm giving versus what I'm getting? So they're really connected. And I don't know if you've sort of drawn lines on like joy factor for different products. And I'm joy factor, right? It's just a way to say it. Obviously, there's not a literal dial, but of course that's what you get to do, right? You get to say, I want this much balance from this joy, and this is less joy, but still feels very on brand, or like, in line with my authentic values, my vision. So you mentioned some values already about not wanting to feel elitist, wanting to and wanting to have impact. Fleshing that out. I think get super clear about what the products are that I say sometimes, like, you get to make this dominion,
Mm-hmm.
this land that is just Ingersoll Fitness.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to say what gets to come in and what am I not available for, right? Just to feel very empowered about that, and that it comes from who you are and who you want to be and what you want to be goal wise too.
Mm-hmm.
So just because part of it is we can talk about all different products at all different prices.
Mm-hmm.
And, really, I mean, I think what the possibilities are. There's
Right.
courses, there's, and in a way, it's like all different, um, almost like concentric circles to access to you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So
Yeah.
you get to like
Mm-hmm.
sort of move the
Mm-hmm.
slider in some ways,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Of how much this, how much that, and how much that. And, kind of the machine is further out is more accessible dollars wise,
Mm-hmm.
to closer in is you pay more for more Jonathan. And I think that's reasonable, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's a proxy for your time, your effort, and how much value they get from you. Not that
Mm-hmm.
you don't get value from the outer rings,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just there's a little more DIY to it. There's a little more like go do your homework. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's actually always homework, but
There is.
but a little more like apply this to yourself kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one piece.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I always like to even start with your right now is 1-to-1, right? Is that right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So even that one product, um, just thoughts for growth. Like if it's about dollars, we can talk about even just that one product, um, scaling dollars. You talked
Mm-hmm.
about not wanting to raise your price too far.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a piece that I like to uh, inquire, like
Mm-hmm.
even
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan asked Jonathan, is this really where I want to stay? Have I
Mm-hmm.
felt really, really what it gets to is of course, you get to set your price in a way
Mm-hmm.
that feels aligned with your values.
Mm-hmm.
And B, May as a coach is going to say, what are all the stories that are telling you that's the cap for you?
Yeah.
Have
Mm-hmm.
you felt really free to say, I get to charge whatever I want to charge? Because it's talking for most of us
Mm-hmm.
in some way, right? There's some story about what's allowable. What does it mean um, about me if I charge that much?
Mm-hmm.
Those kinds of stories. And it doesn't mean it gives you an answer, but my interest is for you to have examined all those and get straight with yourself about them and say, like, do I want to listen to that? Or is that an old story that is no longer useful to me? Or,
Mm.
maybe was never true,
Right.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So even if you don't, scaling sounds like a whole big, like we're gonna upgrade the put a new engine in the beater cart, right? Like it sounds
Mm-hmm.
like a big work. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes really it's just can be this mindset stuff about what you've already
Yeah.
been doing.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah. No,
Another
that's.
piece besides pricing
Mm-hmm.
is, um, are you selling? Because those are really linked, right? Like
Mm.
there's the what you sell, how much is it, are you selling it for, and are you selling? So I'm in a coaching program working on these things too.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that coach says, Susie Ashworth, she says, if you want to up your revenue, you're going to have to make more offers.
Mm.
It's very simple. And yet I'm like, yeah, I'll say like, here's a message on social media. And what I'm practicing right now, some of my audience may have noticed, and I'm feeling a little nervous about it, but like to go ahead and say, and I can help you with this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, um, and like, here's what I know, and this is what you'll get when you talk to me about, those kinds of things. Just
Yeah.
go ahead and make the offer. So I don't know if your appointments are all booked up, but there's the, maybe you could be booking whatever you want to sell, and booking more people if you are selling more often.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, well, for me, I guess the part of that business challenge that I'm having is that, this whole like we were talking at the very beginning about our different hats. And so like balancing right now the time for my family and everything that's required of that. And with the time that I have to put into my personal training business and helping other people with their movement and all those things that we were saying before. So that impact, the impact that I want to have. So kind of the impact at home and the impact out there, and balancing those things out. And so it's like there's not a lot of room currently, and in the future, short term and long term, or medium term and long term, there's going to be probably more time. But as it is right now, it's like, I've got some limited hours that I'm trying to fit people into.
Yeah.
And certainly,
so those blocks feel full, right? I completely, always 100% endorse. Keep the blocks clean.
They feel
for your priorities.
They feel full, but could I be more efficient with my time? Probably. Like, could I do a better job of like talking about, like you're talking about, offers, and like when I'm talking to prospective new clients about what times I have available, like how do I like think about it enough in advance, or have it set in my mind that like these are the times that I have available, and if we can't, and that's going to hold to that block, or am I going to like be like, if they can only do it this time, then that's when I'm going to do it, and all of a sudden now I'm either digging into something else, or I'm feeling the stress or the tension because now I'm not working within my whatever it is, my optimal time frame, or I'm going from here to there to there to there, instead of just being like,
so I'm never advocating for like more stress, right? My whole thing.
Of course you're not.
But so if the blocks are the blocks, then it's a boundaries issue, right? You get super clear on your boundaries, and the journaling exercise I would assign is, it is safe to have my boundaries. It is safe to say no. It is safe for me to only have the clients that work for me, like all of those kinds of things. And you can hear like what are the beliefs that get in the way of that, right? For all of us, they're different, but journaling, you could unpack all of that. Scarcity mindset and all of that. But that's where it goes right into, if your blocks are full, then product and pricing. Right? That's why to add those. And I mean, I guess the other way to do it is scaling, adding an employee, and having where you're managing another person doing those. But again, it's all about product and impact. Right. What aligns for you. I think building a team is always almost like always a good direction to build toward. And again, the resistance I usually get is usually mindset things like, I don't want to manage people. It's terrible to manage people. And my work with people is to, one way to say it is clean that shit up, right? Like those are not true. They're not true. It is a different challenge. And actually, like, I mean, being an entrepreneur is, you don't have to, but you are a boss. You're already a boss of you. And it's really just using those same muscles with other people. So, I mean, really, like sometimes our employees are better employees than ourselves sometimes, right? Like they're more clear about the job. They're more clear about their boundaries. They're more, right? Like sometimes the burden is heavier to be the one that has all the flexibility in some way. Where a person you hire, you've gotten clear. So they can just only do this much in this box for this many dollars. And it's really, it can be wonderful. So those are my 2 cents.
I love it. No,
kind of a lot, but
that's a lot to think about for sure. But I love what you were saying about just like unpacking that stuff, basically, like thinking about it, like what is the reason, like if I have like a wall that throws up around those ideas, whether it's like growing a team or doing a particular type of group class or product or whatever, however you want to say it, like what is my emotional reaction to that, and then what's going on about that, and kind of just really kind of digging into that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is it real? Is it really where I want to decide to draw a line? Because absolutely draw lines. I just want you to draw them freely instead of reflexively, like scary, unexamined no is not helpful sometimes. Those are blocks that are keeping us. And that's where, unfortunately, what I see is people like running hard in place. Like it's like the worst, right? To be like working so hard and not getting the satisfaction, the benefits of being an entrepreneur, the dollars, the freedom, the joy. That's available.
Yeah.
So
well, I certainly can see the benefit, and maybe we'll have to talk a little bit more too about some of those things. And I think about that stuff and like the stories or whatever, those things that come up in my own mind about that, and trying to figure out how to navigate that, how to navigate those things.
Yeah. And even I just was thinking about pricing. You talked about not wanting to raise prices. Elitist is not wanting to be elitist, perceived as elitist. As a value, even that, like, yes, let's put a pin on that and like say yes to that. What are the ways that I can be available to everyone? What just go ahead and ask that. Like I think just knowing that you get to even, put your stake in the ground here and still solve the problem, kind of meet the underlying interests in different ways too. Yeah.
Nice.
So how do people get in touch with you to work with you? What's the best way?
The best way would be to probably just go to my website, which is ingersollfitness.com. And there is a schedule or book now, like book a 15-minute consult button and calendar there. And you can schedule a time, and we could either do a video call or a phone call, and then just kind of get started that way.
Great. Very easy, friction-free.
Exactly. Try to make it as simple as possible.
All right. Thanks so much for talking and
you're welcome.
Sharing your story. I hope others are inspired today, and also just know that we're all kind of swimming in the same struggle, similar struggles and it's solvable, and we just have to stay in it.
Yeah.
The only way to lose is to give up. So
well, thank you so much for inviting
together.
Me.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks for having me here, and for imparting your wisdom too. Yeah. It was really helpful to hear your angle on it, and your own wisdom and thoughts about it. It was just really helpful to have that space. So yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Have a great week.
Yes.
Jonathan and everybody.
Yeah. Thank you everybody for joining, and that was awesome having you here.